विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुस्साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. ओम. अब्बा ओके. अब्बा. So there is today Shukravara, so I speak in English and Sugama. Okay. So there is no other avidya which can go away with knowledge. That means knowledge can only correct a misunderstanding, and misunderstanding is the only avidya that can go away, because knowledge only reveals a fact. Knowledge reveals an existing fact. This is the very nature of jnanam, which Shankaracharya repeats in his Prasthanatrayi, that jnanam tu jnapakam na tu karakam. Jnanam can only reveal an existing fact, neither changes it, neither it destroys something nor creates something else. Okay. Neither it can create nor it can destroy. It only reveals what is there. In misunderstanding, you understand one thing for the other, and jnanam shows the fact directly. Jnanam doesn't touch directly, it shows the fact. In the light of the fact, you understand that it is wrong thing. What we are seeing is wrong. Wrong is understood as wrong in the light of Brahman, in the light of self-conscious Brahman. That is self-effulgent. Self-conscious means a self-effulgent, self-shining. Self-shining Atma is always there. Against the background of it, you compare. See, it is like you take a original thing, and whenever you have a doubt about something else, take this original and compare with it. Whether is it similar to this original one? Something like a measuring. In those days, they were using measuring rods, measuring stones, to measure, to weigh gold, silver, or some kind of a vegetables and all. They were weighing. To weigh, there were weighing stones. One stone is thoroughly measured well, perfectly, and with the help of that, you measure the vegetables and all other things. Similarly, you have the standard is the self-shining Atma. Self-shining Atma, without specs alone is better. I can see better, but reading becomes difficult. Just a minute. So, self-shining Atma is the basis. Self-shining Atma is the original thing with which you contrast. See, it's a very strange thing, you see. How do you know a given thing is right or wrong? Let us think this way. How do you know a certain idea certain understanding is right or wrong. You ask somebody, he says, no, that is wrong. You are confused. Oh, is it wrong? But I thought I have been believing this to be right. But for me it looks right. You ask another person and he says, yeah, what you say is right. But somebody says, no, it is wrong. And another fellow says, no, what you say is right. Now tell me, how do you know which one is right or wrong? Do you go by the opinion of others? But they don't tell why it is right, why it is wrong. If somebody says it is right, he just says that it is right. And another person says it is wrong. Why it is wrong? He just says that it is wrong. So you won't know anything, whether it is right or wrong. But how, on what basis, how do they come to judge that a given understanding is right or wrong? Okay? So the simple test is the understanding I have, the knowledge I have about something, is it true to the thing itself? That is the only way of measuring. Whatever knowledge I have, is this knowledge truly presenting the fact about which I have this knowledge? Simple example, there is something lying there in the room. From a distance, I felt that it is a snake. Okay? From a distance, I felt that it is a snake. So, you think it is a snake. Somebody told, yeah, it seems to be snake, but sometimes mistakes happen. Let us verify. Another person says, why verifying? I know it is a snake because we are perceiving it to be snake. Another person says, true, but many perceptions go wrong also. There are many perceptions in our life which go wrong. So probably this could be a misunderstanding. And then how do you know? You refer the dictionary. How do you know whether what you are perceiving, the snake is true, true or not? How do you know? Do you meditate? Or do you refer your astrology? Or you telephone to somebody in America? Something is lying in my room, it looks like snake. Is it really snake? You ask somebody in America. Because Americans are intelligent and they know English well. They speak good English, unlike us, unlike me at least. So you talk to them. How do you know? Or do you talk to Christian missionary that he says he's so sure that Jesus is the only God, only truth? You talk to him, he will tell you. Then how do you know? And then people say you have to verify. Verify means where? In the dictionary, in the astrology? Or ask somebody? No. An understanding is supposed to be true to the fact right there. Where the fact is, the fact itself decides. The fact itself is the judge. I've been telling all this joke only to show how to verify whether it is right or wrong. No book. Even Vedanta also doesn't tell that I am telling you I am the Veda, therefore this is right. Vedanta is talking not on its own strength. Okay? There are two things. One is Karmakanda Veda, another is Jnanakanda Veda. Karmakanda Veda talks on its own strength. See, I am telling you there is heaven. I am telling you there is Punya Papa. You are supposed to believe and accept me on my strength. No question. You have to believe it. There is no way. On the strength of Veda Vakya, you have to believe. This is Vakya Pramana, Vakya Bala. Okay, on the strength of the statement. Now in Vedanta, it is not the strength of the statement. Even if Vedanta says something, what Vedanta says has to be verified in Anubhava. Then who is the ultimate determinant? Your Anubhava. The fact itself is a determinant. Okay? The fact itself determines whether your knowledge is true or not. How do you know it is right? Because check whether this knowledge is truly presenting the fact, or it is slightly deviating, or it is totally misrepresenting. Slightly deviating, or totally misrepresenting, or it is true to the fact. That's all. This is what you have to see. Then therefore, for that, what you should do? Look at the fact. If the fact is known, verification is easy. In fact, knowing the fact is the only way. Look at the fact. Now here, how do you look at the fact? You bring the light. Light is the condition. In the worldly example of rope and snake, one is light is required. Second is the proportionate distance. If it is too far, it appears as something else. If it is too close also, you see, you take a finger and put it here, can you see? Can you see? See, put a finger here, can you see? You can't see anything. Or you put the finger there, can you see? You can't see that. It has to be in a reasonable distance. Okay? You just put it here, or here, or here. You can see even the lines on your finger. Okay? So there should be a reasonable distance. Similarly, to see the rope, you can't go close and look at it. If it is real, if the snake is real, it will bite you. You can't go so near. And at the same time, you can't see from a distance. Distance also you can't see. Then therefore, there should be a reasonable distance to be able to see the object as it is. Second, there should be a good light. If the light is too much means if there is a floodlight, your eyes will close. You won't be able to see anything. If there is a dim light, again you will see the same snake. If there is no light, nothing is visible, not even snake. If there is a pitch dark, you will be able to see nothing. If there is a dim light, again the same problem. It's not clear and it looks like something else. If there is therefore there should be a light enough to illumine the object there. Okay? In the worldly example I am talking. Worldly example, you have to see the light and distance. Your eyes should be okay. You are not sick person. Your eyes should you have a good eyesight. You shouldn't be suffering from cataract and all. And you shouldn't, if you need a spec, then you need to correct your specs also. And all these things you have to do. Okay, in the worldly example I am telling. But in Atma, you don't need all these things. You have to look at it directly. So, the fact has to be seen. Then what you thought about it, is it representing truly the snake? Or it is slightly deviating? Then you understand, once you know the fact, the wrong is understood as a wrong. Okay. Now I have a notion about myself, that I am an individual and I am facing the world, I am living with the world. This thought of the world and me as an individual and facing the world in front of me, time and place and all that, whether this whole thought of a state, is this waking state true to my real nature? Real nature means the fact. But where is the fact? Should we know the fact first? How do we know that? Fortunately, fact is well known. The fact is your own Atma. Your Atma is self-shining. Okay? Self-existing and self-shining. You don't have to newly know the Atma because you are never away from Atma. Atma means yourself. You are never away from yourself. You never miss yourself. Okay? You never miss yourself. Therefore, Atma is always self-shining. Your Atma being self-shining, it is self-evident, we say. Self-evident. Atma is self-evident. When Atma is self-evident, then what more you need? Atma is, but you have an understanding of the Atma. You have a thought about an Atma. Is your thinking, is your notion about yourself, is true to yourself? Or you have a thought which is slightly deviating or different from yourself. Myself is myself. You don't have to know newly because self is already there in your Anubhava. Anubhava means yourself. You are the Atma. My self-consciousness is self-shining. So, keep the self-shining Atma as a background. Keep the self-shining Atma as a background. Okay. I don't know, I think my specs is giving trouble. Better to remove. I think better to remove. I can see my thing better. I think it has changed. Okay. So the self-shining Atma, you have to keep the background. What is, now for this there is a simple logic. What is really there, it always there same way. What is really there is always there in the same way. It doesn't change. But if you have a thought about it, the thought keeps fluctuating, changing, because thought is from an angle. Thought is from a context. Your perception about a thing, it from a distance. You have a perception about a thing from a distance. Okay. So the distance influences. The distance influences, it makes it appear in a particular way. If you change the distance, it appears differently. Again change the distance, appear. Change the angle of looking, it appears differently. Again change the angle, it appears differently. See, angle of looking, distance of looking, the context of looking. These things influence your understanding about yourself. Now, we have various angles of looking, various distances of looking, various contexts of looking. Waking is one context, dream is another context. Distance is your body, mind, sense organs. I look at myself through body, through mind, through sense organs, through intellect, and so on. Okay, now by leaving out all these things, I have to just see what I am. What I am in all conditions, in all time, in all states. What I am in waking state. See, I appear in some manner in waking state. I appear slightly different in dream state. Again, I appear in another state differently. So, according to the state, that means according to the context, I appear in some way. Okay. Now, what I have to do is, irrespective of any context, ignore the context, what I am, as I am. No context. As I am. Not in a state like a waking state or a dream state or any other state. Leave the state. What I am is the original me. In all the states I am the same. That means beyond the state. Beyond the state means in spite of the state I am the same. State doesn't affect me. State I may appear differently, but my real existence doesn't change because of some state. State is of the mind only. Okay. So what I am is really am, real fact. Therefore, keep that real fact. Real fact is changeless. Okay. The real fact is changeless. In all the states it remains the same. In all distances it remains the same. Okay. You look at from any angle, any context, any manner, it remains what it is. Therefore, just see what naturally is. So, what appears in one context, you go to another context, it changes. Oh, that means what you had seen before is only a contextual perception. What you saw in a given context was due to that context, that kind of perception. You go to another angle, it looks in another way. Oh, that means this what I am seeing now is from this angle alone. You go to therefore, try to shift a few angles. Keep shifting the angles. Oh, then you understand. This perception is due to this angle. Then you go to another angle. Then come back to this angle. That means you keep on shifting the angle to angle to angle to angle. Oh, then you understand. So what is shifting is a perception from a given angle. Okay. What is shifting is perception from a given angle. But in and through all these perceptions, there is one underlying natural state that remains the same. Whatever angle you change, it doesn't change. That is Atma. Whatever angle you change. See, in waking you appear in some way. Dream you appear in some way. Deep sleep you appear in some way. Ignoring all these states, or in other words, what you are in all the states, you are the same. What are you in all the states? In spite of the states, I am what I am. That is real you. That real you, whether I am in waking or dream, I am the same. I don't change. I don't appear differently according to the different states, according to the change of states. In waking, I appear one way, dream in another way. That means neither is true. But there is something in me which I change neither in waking nor in dream. Let states change, I remain the same. That is real me. The real me doesn't depend upon a given state, doesn't depend upon a context, an angle of looking. You drop all angles, you drop all distances, you remain yourself. You come back to yourself, you remain yourself. Then you are what you are. So this natural state, this natural existence is Atma. Anything other than the natural state is Anatma or Adhyasa. Therefore, Adhyasa means you have an opinion, you have an idea, you have an assumption about yourself. This assumption is through the mind. Mind can't perceive the Atma. Mind means what? A thought moved away from the Sakshi. A thought moved away from being Sakshi. Instead of being Sakshi, you be somebody other than Sakshi. Somebody imagined within the Sakshi. Anything imagined within the Sakshi is not true to the Sakshi because it is naturally an imaginary thought. Atma is not a thought. Atma need not be thought and cannot be thought of. Therefore, come back to yourself, leaving out all thoughts about yourself. Leaving out all thoughts about yourself. Your thought shifts, changes. You keep changing the angle, thoughts changing. But there is one thing that doesn't change, that is not a thought. See, yourself is not a thought, therefore yourself won't change. A thought is from an angle, from a distance. So thought keeps changing as you keep changing your angle. Therefore, your waking individuality, dream individuality, waking world, dream world keep on shifting. But what you are, come back to yourself. Don't look at yourself from somebody's angle. Be what you are. Without imagining, without thinking, just be. Be. The being is already there. That perception, that understanding of yourself, which is what I am, means you don't imagine that this is what I am, that is what this and that. Don't imagine anything. Just be. The very being is me. That is a real perception of yourself, which cannot be defined, which cannot be imagined, which cannot be specified. Specification means thought is specification. Thought imagines this and that. It describes. It compares, contrasts. Atma is neither comparison nor contrast nor description. Okay, all description is of mind. Comparison, contrast is also mind. Time and space and angle of looking. Now you drop, you eliminate all these things. You negate all these things. Because none of them you. It just is self-existing Atma. That self-existing Atma, all these contrasts and comparisons and angles all merge into it. All the angles merge into it. It remains all alone itself. Self-existing Atma. Okay. So, any notion you have about yourself is Anatma. Have no notion about Atma. Negate all notions. You remain self-existing. No notion. All notions are wrong about yourself. All notions are wrong. So remove all notions. Then you remain yourself. It's like space reflecting in water. Space reflecting in the mirror. If the space reflects in mirror, what do you see? Space and mirror become one. Space reflected in mirror, the reflected space and real space. Do you see any difference? Reflected space and the space. reflected space is true to the space. Exactly true to the space. Or another little rougher example I'll give you. You put a photograph and yourself. Okay, your real face and the photograph. See the tally it. If you see exactly same, you would not be able to see whether it is a real picture or photo. Photo or three-dimensional photo. If you keep it, you see the three-dimensional is exactly you. No difference at all. That understanding is true to yourself. True to yourself. Because it's not deviating. Now I see in this selfie mode, my left is right and right is left. Okay. This, my right shoulder is open. Left shoulder is covered with my cloth. But there's this my selfie cell phone, both of them. This YouTube and this is selfie. This is Facebook and this is YouTube. Both of them show me that left shoulder is open. So here you can see the difference. It is not true because it is misrepresenting. Partly misrepresenting. So therefore, when all the thoughts merge into you, there is nothing other than you. Okay. It is like space reflected in the mirror. Space reflected in the mirror, space itself. So that understanding where all the thoughts merge into Atma is pure knowledge. Therefore he says, knowledge, what knowledge can correct is only misunderstanding. Therefore, what is the nature of Adhyasa? What is the nature of Avidya? Avidya is only a misunderstanding, is an Adhyasa, because that is the only thing which a knowledge can correct. He says, tat samanyat yahapi atma vidyapi adhyasa rupinyeva bhavitum nacha swayam prakashe pratyagatmani adhyaropita pramatrutva dyanartha nirasa vyatirekena. From one angle, another angle we discussed in the last class. In this class we are discussing from another angle. Okay. So pratyagatmani, in the pratyagatma, self-shining atma, this pramatrutva adhyaropa anartha nirasa vyatirekena, except negating it. Adhyasa, a misunderstanding, is negated. That means what? Assumption of atma is understood as an assumption. Okay. Assumption about myself is understood as an assumption. It is not true. What is not me is not me. You negate it. Then what is remains itself. Self-shining Atma remains on its own. You don't have to know it because there is no knowing unknown relationship there. What is wrongly thought of is removed. Is wrongly thought of is understood as wrong. Any notion about Atma is wrong. Therefore, wrong notion is understood as wrong notion. It's corrected. So in the last class we told, just to give you briefly, waking state and dream state can neither be put side by side, nor can be one after the other. This we discussed elaborately already. Neither the waking and dream states are, neither they come in sequence, nor they are simultaneous. That means the very thought of two is debunked, is wrong. That means there are no two states at all. There is no state at all. Therefore, the very idea of state is dismissed. You stand as stateless. You alone remain who is stateless. So that stateless is Atma. Stateless is oneself, which stands on its own. Then there is nothing other than the state, other than the Atma, stateless Atma. There is nothing other than the Atma, and anything other, the very thought of other is wrong. See, can the light see anything other than light? Can light see anything other? Light cannot see anything other. Light only sees light only. For a light, nothing other than the light appears. Similarly, consciousness can see nothing other than consciousness, and there is nothing other than consciousness. That means consciousness remains all along consciousness, throughout consciousness alone. So this understanding is called Jnanam. Okay, that means the second, the very idea of second. Consciousness seeing the second is a myth, because nothing second exists. But if you imagine, question it, what is that other one? You more and more probe into it, there is no such thing other than consciousness. Consciousness can't see unconscious. See, can you see non-consciousness? This is a very strange question. See, can you see? Let us take the light. Can light see the light? Light seeing the light is meaningless. How can the light illumine the light? Okay, then light has to illumine something non-light. What is non-light? Darkness, which is an absence of light. Can light illumine darkness? Oh, yes, yes. Can light illumine darkness? No, it can't. Then what? If light cannot illumine darkness, light illumining light is meaningless, then what does the light see? It sees no second thing. Therefore, light is non-dual. Okay? Light is non-dual. That's why light is Advaita. Chaitanyam is Advaita. Chaitanyam can't see Achetanam because there is no such thing called Achetana. But mind thinks that. Common man thinks that there is something other than consciousness. You question what is that other than? Oh, it falls off. There is nothing other than consciousness. But you thought it. That's an assumption. That is Adhyasa. Adhyasa means this is avidya. This is Adhyasa. Mind assumes something and goes ahead. What is that I have assumed? You question it. There is nothing. That assumed appears to be simply assumed, barely assumed. It doesn't exist at all. Then the assumption is debunked. Okay. Therefore, you think that there is something other than consciousness. How do you know that there is something other than consciousness? Can consciousness know something non-conscious? Can Chaitanyam know Achetanam? Can light know the darkness? If light can illumine the darkness, then darkness is better than light. Can light illumine the darkness? What is darkness in fact? Darkness is absence of light. Can light illumine where light itself doesn't exist? Can light illumine where the light doesn't exist? That is ridiculous. Such a thing doesn't exist. Light cannot illumine where it doesn't exist. That means there is no such thing called darkness at all. Okay, in the worldly sense, okay, because there is a light and darkness. But you see, you are consciousness. You are existence. Imagine your non-existence. Yes, yes, I think that I am not there. You imagine? It is like I used to dream in my childhood that some tiger or something fell on me. I am dying. I used to have number of dreams of my death. Oh, I am dying. I have died. So I think in English you can't have such an expression. In Telugu we can say Chachan. They say in Chachan. Chachan means how can you say when you are dead you can't speak? But he says I have died. What do you mean? Oh, yesterday only I was dead. If yesterday you was dead, how are you alive now? That you go to the pension office, they talk you like that only. In the pension office, they want you. Shall I tell you an interesting event? One pension holder, he went to his office to get his pension. They want you to bring a certificate that you are alive and not dead. Because the pension givers are strange people. I don't know whether they are human beings, they have human brains. They ask us every month you have to produce your certificate that you are alive. You have to go and tell the doctor, I am alive. Doctor says, are you alive? He asks you. Yes, I am alive. What is the proof that you are alive? He has to show some proof. We don't know. That is in between doctor and the patient. So let us not go into them. And the doctor somehow understands and that he is alive and he gives a certificate. Certifies him that this person is alive and not dead. You have to say simply alive is not enough. He is alive and not dead. You have to say two things. Otherwise certificate won't be accepted. And that fellow did not take, for some reason he was not well or there was nobody helping him to go to, because he was not well, I think. 3 months he did not take pension. After 3 months, he became well and he himself walked or went by some auto or something to the pension office. He wanted to receive his pension. They told, come on, produce your certificate that you are alive. Sir, I am alive in front of you. Don't talk. First you prove that you are alive. Sir, I am speaking only to prove that I am alive. True. Avunandi. He's giving a message. Somebody, a pension holder is giving a message. Shall I read? He says, every year we have to submit for pension. We have to admit the certificate. And he asks, I'm just little dramatizing. Okay, I'm adding a lot of nonsense. Just listen. I don't know whether they really talk like that, but I'm imagining a lot of things. He asks you, sir, I have to give you pension. I have to give you pension only when you are alive. He says, I am alive. What is the proof that you are alive? Sir, I am alive. Tell me, how are you alive? Don't speak. Prove that you are alive. Sir, without speaking, how am I to prove that I am alive? I said, don't speak. Prove that you are alive. My God, without speaking. Shall I shake hand? No, you can't do that. You have to prove. How am I to prove? He says, bring a certificate from a doctor. But how are you sure that the doctor himself is not dead? I may bring certificate from a dead doctor. How do you know? Then you have to produce another certificate that the doctor who gave me certificate of life himself is alive, not dead. I don't know. They ask like that, I don't know. If the doctor gives you certificate that he is alive, you want to verify whether the doctor himself is alive or dead. Anyway, he has given certificate. So he went on in the month of March. So he did not receive his pension from January, February, March for 3 months. When he went to the doctor told, yes, I am seeing you. Yes, he is alive. On date what? On the March, so and so date. In March 27, he is alive. I have seen him. And he gave a certificate. He went and produced it. Sir, see, I am proving you that I am alive. I am not a dead person. I am talking living person, sir. Listen to me, I am living person. I am not dead. I am not dead body talking. He looked at it. Are you the same? Yes. Certificate, I approve, I accept it. But I have one doubt. I know you are alive in March. What about you in your January and February? You have not brought the certificate. But he says, sir, you have to give me 3 months pension. Because I have not received. Until December I have received. You have to give me January, February, March, 3 months pension. And he told, I think March 30th he went there, probably March 30th. So he told, sir, I am not sure whether you are alive on January and February. And he says, I brought the certificate for March. And he says, March you are alive, I have no doubt about it. But what about your life being alive in January and February? In January, February, how do I know that you are alive? Oh boy, I have to go to doctor again. Go to doctor and find out whether you are alive or not. He went to the doctor again. Sir, doctor, please help me. What is that? I want a living certificate. Okay, come on. I gave you already. You gave me that I was alive only in March. And then you have to give me that I was alive in January and February. And he says, you know what doctor says? I am seeing you only in March. Therefore, I can certify that you are alive in March. How can I certify that in January, February I did not see you? You might be dead, who knows? You might have been dead in January and February. How do I know? I am seeing you in March. Therefore, I can certify you only in March. He went to the pension office. Sir, doctor is also not giving me. He says that I am alive only in March. But he says, I want a proof that you are alive in February and March, February and January. And he says, otherwise I can't give you. I can give you pension only for March. I can't give you pension for January and February. Because I write in the office, in the file that he was dead during January and February and he came to life in March, therefore I gave you pension. What can you say? Certificate is very difficult to get that you are alive. Okay, but it's not like this. That I am existent is self-existent. You don't need anybody's certificate. My self-shining Atma is the only Atma. Okay, therefore, any notion, Any notion is about individuality alone. Any notion you have only as an individual. All the notion of individuality is not representing you. The real Atma is, you can't form an opinion about Atma. You can't form a thought about Atma. That means the very thought merges into Atma. The very mind merges into Atma. Mind ceases to be mind because it merges into Atma. Therefore, this way, Jnanam can only eliminate anything other than Jnanam. Because other than Jnanam is only a thought, assumption. Other than light, darkness is only an assumption. There is no such thing called darkness. Go and find out with your light. Wherever you take the light, you will see only light. You can never see the darkness. That's all. You stand as a consciousness and look at anything, you will see only consciousness and nothing other than consciousness. That there is something other than consciousness itself is a false assumption. Okay, therefore, Jnanam can only negate. Negate means what? A false thing. That means it can only tell you false as a false. What is not there is not there. That's all. Namma Gurugalu, one Gurugalu in Gudivada, there was one Telugu Gurugalu. He would say the same thing. In Telugu like that he would say, Unnadi unnatluga telusukovali, lendi lenattuga, jnanam ante inte. He would tell us that you should know what exists as exists and what is not is not. What is as is and what is not is not. That's all. This is what it is, jnanam. Those days of sitting in front of him, his Aradhana is coming now, 25th May. I don't know, I am planning to go visit once Gudivada. So 25th May is Gudivada. Oh, his very thought of him, I tell you, makes me, I don't know where I am. He was such a great man. Even very thought of him, I see the whole world disappears. He's such a great man. Anyway, so that Guru, his Aradhana is the 25th. 25th May, I have to visit once. Okay. So, Adhyaropa Dashayam api Swayam Prakash, because this Swayam Prakasha Atma exists all the time, even when you have an assumption, wrong assumption. Even when you have a wrong assumption, Atma is there. So, that background Atma, you hold on to it. Assumption is understood as wrong. Okay, Tasmat Sarvensham Vedantanam Atmaikatva Vidya Pratipatyartham Arambha. Therefore, conclusion. I'll just finish it in 1 or 2 minutes. This particular conclusion. Therefore, the avidya, the nature of avidya which can be corrected by jnanam is only adhyasa or a misunderstanding. So therefore, avidya can't be anything other than a misunderstanding. Vidyayascha avidya vyapanayana vyatirekena Krityantara abhavat, jnanam has no other role than correcting it, than showing that it doesn't exist. Jnanam has no other role than to prove that the wrong doesn't exist, simply because it is wrong. Wrong is wrong means it doesn't exist. What doesn't exist, that's all it has to say. Adhyasa vyatirekena cha avidyayaha asambhavitatvat. Therefore, you can't think of any other ignorance other than a misunderstanding, other than adhyasa. Adhyasa varnanam shastra sangatame veti siddham. Therefore, adhyasa, discussing adhyasa in the preface of Brahma Sutra Bhashya is quite relevant, is quite in place. Purvapakshi told, no, why bringing unnecessary adhyasa? We are supposed to teach Vedanta. Why bring adhyasa? Adhyasa is the only thing that is to be taught here, that is to be discussed here, because jnanam can correct only adhyasa. Adhyasa alone is to be discussed. That's why Shankaracharya discussed adhyasa in the preface of Brahma Sutra Bhashyam. Okay, yadyapi jnana bhavaha samshayagna. Next paragraph, slightly it's a different. We'll discuss in the next class. Okay. Already time is up. We also started little late, but anyway, this is what my way. I can't do anything else. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Hari Om Tatsat. We are coming so closer to it, but in the last few pages we are getting stuck. I think it's not proceeding. It's not moving. Abba, I thought of finishing in 2 months, and something else occurred, and again 1 month I get a gap. Otherwise, we would have finished it. Anyway, let us hope before Chaturmasya. Okay, the Chaturmasya begins sometimes in June or July. I hope to finish it. And Chaturmasya, something else, either Mula Vidya Nirasa or Prakriya Pratyabhigna, one of them we will start. I hope to finish. Let us complete this Sugama before Chaturmasya. On Chaturmasya day in Vyasa Purnima, we will have some other new text we will begin. Okay, let me try. Om Shanti. If my health again, health is our biggest obstacle. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om.